Daddy's back, you bitches!
That's right. Daddy is indeed back. April 29, 2008. The world has been waiting for it, and gamers were fiending for it. Much like how gamers were fiending for GTA 5 in 2013. A franchise that had already been successful from titles before it, like the 6th generation trilogy of games, GTA 3, Vice City, and San Andreas, and it garnered so much attention from it being a game about killing people, doing dirty work, establishing friendships, and most importantly, taking care of and looking out for your family. Grand Theft Auto had already gone deep into such topics and lines of work, but not in the same length that GTA 4 would. GTA 4 would set a new premise for the franchise, a graphical shift for the time, and a new step forward, developing it for the 7th generation of consoles, the 360 and the PS3, and also the PC, which I'm playing the game on for this video. Returning to Liberty City felt like a trip down memory lane, a place where I made so many memories in the past, whether it's driving around like a mad lad, playing cops and robbers across Algonquin, going to the airport and seeing modders and J-taggers spawn cars that you can drive around there for hours on end, or going through everything the single player portion of the game has to offer. This, along with many others, will probably be where they spent a lot of their time in, and after playing through it again for the first time properly in over 15 years, I'm inclined to call GTA 4 the superior game over GTA 5, despite playing the game from start to finish pretty much once every year. There's a lot of things I want to say, and a lot that's changed since the young me has played it, and I want to talk about what makes GTA 4 the best GTA game there is. Let's get into the world of crime, shall we?
Oh no, mine is right. Look at me like I'm a piece of shit.
Let's go!
What's up, money? Where the fuck have you been? The fuck's move! Get on the floor! Best, I didn't fuck up! The world is a cunt! Wasn't you, was it?
You're looking for some people.
Captain, our motherfucker! Hey, yo!
Oh, you man. I owe you big time. Discussing pest control.
Welcome to America.
The best way I can describe GTA 4's story is like this: a dark, gritty, and sad crime drama that represents the criminal life and activity of these games in its most pure and true form. What do I mean by this? Let's compare it to other games. GTA 3 is probably the best game to compare GTA 4 to, because not only does it take place in Liberty City, but you're also just doing any criminal activities that you can to scrape by, make money, and move up in the criminal underworld. Vice City had you come out of prison 15 years later and also work your way up the food chain, but it was more about Tommy's rise to power and eventually total domination of the entire city. San Andreas had CJ come back to a place he wanted to forget after being out of Los Santos for over 5 years, and explores the theme of family, among having to clear his name. GTA 5 had a mix of crime, goofy, and funny moments that made the game detract from previous titles, so it never felt like it was too deep. It's not like the other games don't have that too, because they do, but GTA 5 I played the most out of all of the games, and it definitely didn't have that all-serious tone GTA 4 had. Same for all the other games. GTA 4 instead takes everything they learned from previous titles and makes everything a whole lot darker, from the missions you complete to the activities you do, the world of Liberty City and who you get involved with. You play as Niko Bellic, an Eastern European war veteran and former human trafficker who arrives in Liberty City on a cargo ship known as the Platypus after working the past 7 months prior with the Navy. He's come here for several reasons: to avoid an old rival from the old country, find the man who sought out his unit during the war, and most importantly, to reunite with his good cousin Roman, who, prior to this meet, wrote letters to him boasting about his life, which is full of riches, sports cars, mansions, and big American titties. Turns out this was all a facade to get him to come here, as the so-called mansion ends up being some cheap apartment down on Hove Beach. These lines right here pretty much describe Roman's living condition.
Where's luxury condo? Where's sports car?
Where's Barbara with big titties and Stephanie who sucks like a vacuum?
What you talking about?
In your letters to my mother, in your letters to me, all I hear about is Mr. Big, Mr. Roman, living the American dream. Sports cars, condos, women, money, the beach, opportunity. I come here, and the only thing big about your life is the cockroaches.
You gotta admit though, any of us would fall for this. I would if I hadn't seen my cousin in over 10 years. Once the introductions are out of the way and Roman wakes up from Nico's monologue, the game begins and you'll be doing various missions for different people throughout the city, starting in the island of Broker and working your way towards the other islands as time goes on. The first few hours of the game are what I consider to be introductory missions, which introduces you to the game's mechanics and get an idea on what you'll be doing for the entire game. Whether you have or haven't played a Rockstar game before, here's how the mission structure works. Missions are linear and are usually completed in the same way, with some exceptions if the mission tells you to do so or you happen to use your imagination to figure out a way to take out a target, for example. You get missions by going up to the icons on the map and you'll have to do these in a certain order at first. But once you reach Bohan and Algonquin, two of the game's islands, plenty of missions will be available to you and you can do them in any order you choose. Linear in terms of how each mission is completed, non-linear later on in terms of what order you want to do them in, because regardless of who you choose, the story will always progress the same way. Every mission is usually a simple point A to point B, so go kill this guy, blow stuff up, find stolen TVs, escape the cops, look over drug deals, pick up some trash, all kinds of criminal activities. Nico is the wet worker in GTA 4, much like Claude, so you'll be helping numerous people do their dirty work and get paid for it, all to help Roman pay his debts and stop him from gambling, even if you don't end up giving him money by the end of the game.
When they get back from their meeting.
So the Enchilatis think the Albanians did it.
Exactly.
Your phone is an all-in-one chop shop for pretty much everything you do in this game in terms of conversations, dialogue, and missions. You can call contacts for jobs if they have any available. You can call people after missions to see how they're feeling, though a lot of times you'll do this is because the game tells you to. Some you have to figure out for yourself. You can get text messages from people about jobs or get you to hang out with them. Which, on a side note, I've always wondered why you can respond to people through emails on the internet, but not through text. And even customize your phone with different ringtones and screensavers or themes to make your phone look cool. This was a pretty revolutionary feature for the time, given that this was Rockstar's first modern title, and it works really well, especially given how they integrated it with the whole game. I also love how you can buy ringtones that get sent straight to your phone, incentivizing you to browse the net and see if there's any other weird shit you can find. And trust me, there is. Prior to GTA 4, every game that came before did not have any sort of failsafe or restart from checkpoint option. So if you died at any point during the mission, you'd have to drive back to the same person you got the mission from and do it from the very beginning. 3 titles deep, Rockstar finally saw this as a problem and decided to fix it. Well, sort of. With the addition of the phone, if you fail the mission, you'll get a text message to replay the mission, instantly starting it and skipping the cutscene. The catch is, they still didn't add a checkpoint system, so dying will result in starting it from the beginning, but was a step in the right direction and saved time from having to make your way back before eventually adding checkpoints into their later titles. GTA 4 introduced something entirely new to the franchise. Choice. Choice is something that's always welcomed in video games, particularly when your actions reflect what happens after, and there's a good amount of that here. The first example of this is when Vlad sends you to kill Ivan, who he claims is trying to rob Roman and has angered Mikhail Faustin, his boss, but Ivan denies it and was told he was being set up so that he can be killed as a result of self-defense from Vlad. When he approaches the end of the line, in which case he's hanging off a ledge, you're given the choice to either do what Vlad told you and drop him down, or interact and bring him up to give him a chance to live. I decided to let him live, and the game rewarded me by having him appear later as a stranger in which he'll thank you for saving him and do one last favor before calling it quits. Rockstar did stress from a tutorial pop-up that these choices will have consequences, but a lot of times they never felt as impactful, and the only thing that would really change is the dialogue. But there are 2 others I can think of that are impactful and hard to make, which is between Dwayne Forge and Playboy X, and the game's ending. You first get introduced to Playboy X back in South Bohan, an entrepreneur and dealer who wants to expand his horizons outside of the drug trade and do good things for the city. From someone who came from the ghetto, he has a bright mind and a really good way of seeing things, even if he sometimes doesn't think about what he says, like saying Yusuf Amir is African, even though he's from Dubai. Dwayne Forge, a man who taught him everything about the drug business and his former partner in crime, gets released from prison and comes back to X treating him like a piece of shit, as not only does he live in a shitty apartment, he gets Nico to help him instead of just doing it himself. And after helping Dwayne get some of his old territory back, X gets on his nerves and tasks Nico with getting rid of him. Something that also happens to be vice versa when you call Dwayne after talking to X about it. You'll get a phone call that'll guarantee you into this mission and have you choose which one to kill. I ultimately chose to kill Dwayne because X gave me a lot of money and helped me scrape by, while Dwayne didn't do much, and X just writes it as if we have to beef over the fact that I killed his best friend, considering that he even said it himself prior. What a hypocrite. He pretty much hangs up and that's the end of that. Killing X, on the other hand, will put you on good terms with Dwayne and you can stay friends with him, allowing you to hang out and get him back on his feet. The game's ending is one of the most important decisions and missions you'll do in GTA 4. Nico has to make a choice on whether or not to do a deal with the man who betrayed him, Dimitri, and get paid a lot of money, or get his revenge, silence Dimitri and stop the heroin from leaving the boat. This is the one choice where, no matter which one you make, there'll be serious consequences. Whatever you decide determines what happens at Roman and Mallory's wedding, with Kate dying if you killed Dimitri prior, and Roman dying if he took the money. I've always gone with my gut every time I've played this game and picked revenge because, to me, I've always found it to be the canonical ending to GTA 4. But man, watching Roman die like that on YouTube and seeing how it all plays out, it hits like a freaking truck, especially when the credits roll around. This right here pretty much cements and summarizes why GTA 4 is the darkest story of the franchise, because there's no happy endings in this life, and when people you love the most get involved, someone always gets hurt or killed.
I know you're trying, but a child without a father has a lot to worry about. Trust me on that one.
The writing of GTA 4 is superb from start to finish, with no cutting corners, taking shortcuts, or loose ends being tied. It's crisp, it's fantastic, it's funny. There's plenty of quotes that I see all the time in YouTube comments whenever I watch GTA 4 related videos, and what I would regard as Rockstar's best work in terms of the GTA franchise. Nico Bellic starts out as a young and good man, someone with a soul, fresh off the boat and ready for a new beginning. He starts off small time, working for Roman and realizing that he hasn't changed a bit thanks to his gambling problems and owing money to the wrong people. Slowly descending back into the life and killing a guy for sleeping with Roman's girlfriend, he then gets recognized by the Russian mob and has to work with Mikhail Faustin, a mob boss, to make up for what happened before getting stabbed behind the back, something that's already happened to him prior. He's forced to move out as a result of this and becomes medium time as he works with more interesting figures, particularly the Irish McCrearys, before eventually going big time with the American Mafia. Throughout this journey, as Nico descends deeper into his criminal life, he loses humanity and begins to question his own existence as a person, simply calling himself a hired gun that kills with nothing to lose, which is just a blatant lie to himself, since he has Roman to lose, in which several times throughout the game he goes through his own trials and tribulations as a result of Nico's actions. This conversation is from early on in the game, where Faustin's wife and him have some small talk about the criminal life while he waits for Mikhail, and the things he says here really touch me in a way that nothing else did.
What I thought nothing of doing bad things. I killed people, smuggled people, sold people.
And you don't worry about your soul?
After you walk into a village and you see 50 children all sitting neatly in a row against the church wall, each with their throats cut and their hands chopped off, you realize that the creature that could do this doesn't have a soul.
God is very complicated. You mustn't give up hope.
Well, I don't know about that.
I can say the exact same thing about all the other characters in GTA 4 in terms of writing, because I don't think there's a single one I hate. Except Dimitri, but that's the good kind of hate when you have a good antagonist.
You know, if there's one thing I've learned, it's that we must obey the rules of the game. We can pick the game, Nico Bellic, but we cannot change the rules.
Throughout the story, Nico meets all kinds of characters, from drug dealers to a man who preaches about the streets, the Cosa Nostra and the Five Families, the government, and many more, all contributing to a storyline in a way that doesn't feel disconnected. I have a few personal favorites, and so I'd like to talk about 3 characters that I loved in GTA 4. Little Jacob is someone that I think we can all agree is someone that we want in our lives. Loyal, trustworthy, and always having your back. You first meet Jacob as a result of a taxi job that Roman sends you out on and ends up becoming a backup mission as he gives you a Glock to protect him while he does a deal, as he thinks there's shady business. Naturally so, it ends up being a setup. You kill the dealers and you become friends. As you progress, you'll do some missions together and he'll eventually become your friend and someone you can lean on for advice. It's also worth noting that he has one of the best Jamaican accents I've ever heard in a video game and lives like a true Jamaican, smoking ganja almost everywhere he goes and keeping things closed to generate a heat box. He also never turns on you throughout the entire game, has your back when you need it. Take this example of him calling you before you meet up with Dimitri to collect your money after killing Faustin, as he sports concerns about the Russians being slimy and wants to back you up in case something goes awry.
Don't know, I haven't seen star.
And has words of wisdom.
Well, it's good to spend some quality time with the eyes, see?
Yes.
Not all work, you know? We gotta ease up from time to time to see how the world turns on. You know what I'm saying?
I think so.
The world can mess you up, you know? Make you think that things matter when all that matters is that the sun come up and we have a good time and laughter and things, see?
I hope so, man. I do.
Despite his time being short-lived, Mikhail is hands down one of my favorite characters in GTA 4 for a few reasons. He's the loose cannon when it comes to the mob. Someone who likes to do things his way and no one else's, even if it gets sticky or people die along the way. Couple that with him being unpredictable, always on the influence, and batshit crazy, and you have someone who not even Dimitri can control. One of my favorite conversations is between him and Nico, where they talk about his daughter and ask Nico to get rid of this biker she's been seeing, and Nico questions him about her, which provokes him a bit. It's also the moment where we see Mikhail's true colors. A man who hates everything and everyone and doesn't care about what happens to the people around him. All he cares about is loyalty and violence, and it's rare to see characters like this in the video game space. All of his recent activities are tied to some event that happened prior that changed him, but it's never told or fully explained, and so the only thing I can assume is that it's army related, since he served.
Don't do this!
Why don't you
You
listen?
want to play games? This
Hey,
is
give me a
not a
break.
game. You
Stop.
have to play
I
by
said
the
stop.
rules.
The man with probably the most character development, aside from Nico of course. He started off as a clickbaiter, then became the bait over time, losing his cab business, getting his apartment destroyed, owing money to loan sharks, getting bashed, shot, kidnapped, and continuing to gamble and be positive after everything that's happened to him. Talk about optimism.
But, this looks okay?
Yes. Great.
Come on, what's wrong?
What's wrong? What's wrong? Where should I start? All right, I'll start with you. What's wrong with you? 15 minutes ago, you were cowering in fear because you didn't know what was going to happen. Now, you know everything is shit, and we're going to be killed, and you're all cheerful. I don't get it.
I guess I'm an optimist.
An idiot, not an optimist.
Roman convinced Nico to come to the city, gave him everything he needed to get started, introduced him to some new people who'd become friends for life, and went from a stand-up comedian to learning to temper his attitude in many situations, like when Nico finally finds the person who sold him out. In a situation where he could have easily made a joke or two, he kept his cool to let Nico have his moment, and even offered to come up and ease his pain, no matter what decision he made. The attitude shift would have been as a result of the situations he got into as well. It's a shame he never asked me to go bowling with him though throughout my entire playthrough. He preferred the strip clubs instead. Since we're talking about story and characters, I figured it'd be a good time to talk about one of my favorite missions in all of GTA. 3-Leaf Clover. Looking back at this iconic mission, the hype that the young me had when I played this was amazing. Robbing a bank, killing dozens of cops, and desperately trying to make an escape as the LCPD surrounds you with SWAT units and a freaking chopper. Playing it now, it's not as hype as it used to be, but it's still a great mission from start to finish, and I wouldn't be surprised if this was the prototype or inspiration for GTA 5, with all those great heists that we get to experience and play. Paki McCreary and his brothers are eager to do a daring heist, rob the Bank of Liberty branch in Chinatown, Algonquin. Paki informs Nico about the heist beforehand, suggesting that I wear a suit so that we can look more professional instead of looking like a bunch of deadbeats. We're also introduced to his brothers, Jerry and Derek, and associate Michael. Jerry has a first bad impression on Nico and doesn't trust him one bit involving him in the family business, essentially calling him useless.
And you? Nothing personal, but don't fuck with my family, or I will fuck with yours.
The catch with this heist though? No pre-planning. Paki devises a plan in the car with no blueprints or additional details other than get into the bank, two guys control the employees while the other two control the hostages, make use of Derek's specialized explosives called PE4 to plop right on the vault door, grab a total of $1 million and head right out the front door. They probably scoped the place out and had potentially been planning it from the jump, but for Nico to have any lack of information about the whole joint, I found it pretty dumb. Put on some balaclavas and walk right in. As the explosives are set to detonate, Paki and Derek have a passionate argument about Derek talking to the hostages and mentioning each other being siblings and the country they're from.
Fuck your cause, that shit's over. Ireland's not the only thing that's green, dollars are too.
Now you said bloody Ireland. That's gonna narrow the search, ain't it?
Fuck you!
Eugene Reaper talks to Luis Lopez, the man in white who's the main character in the Ballad of Gay Tony DLC, and wants to put a stop to these guys thanks to having a gun license. While the two are arguing, Eugene stands up, takes out his pistol, and shoots Michael dead in the stomach, bleeding out in the process. There goes $250,000. Eugene dies, the vault explodes, Nico goes in to grab the cash, and the LCPD arrive, along with Noose, which is this game's fictional SWAT. The remainder of this mission involves finding a way out and shooting a bunch of cops in the process, and it's pretty intense, especially when you consider the fact that you're on 5 stars. Police cars are blocking your path and cops surround you from every direction. It's magnificent to play this out, especially when you do it in one go. You'll go through streets, alleyways, and eventually make your way into the subway in an attempt to steer them towards a different direction, getting back up to the surface through another entrance. The mission was smooth sailing until Paki became fat and didn't catch up with Derek and I, so I had to go back, and by the time I picked him up, the cops are already surrounding our exit, so I had to deal with a bunch more cops before eventually getting into the getaway car, which leads to one final cop chase. Thankfully you drop down to 3 stars while this happens, because if it was 5, it'd be even more ridiculous. What I love about this mission in GTA 4 is just how much action and chaos there is, because you don't get anything like this ever again after completing it, which is a shame, but understandable given the circumstances and needing to lay low. I remember struggling with this as a kid and it took me like 5 tries just to finish it, but playing it as an adult now, this mission felt like clockwork. If you're enjoying the video so far, consider liking and subscribing with notifications turned on. For those who are new, I'm Pepsook and I make all kinds of gaming videos, from reviews to memes and anything that I find of interest. Any support is appreciated and I thank you for being here. The combat of GTA 4 is fairly straightforward, with your typical third-person gameplay, akin to other shooters that came before it. Weapons are limited however, as you can only have one of each category. You've got your basic Glock pistol, which can then be swapped out to a Deagle later on. The pump shotgun, which sounds incredible I must say. Same goes for the tactical shotgun as well. The Micro Uzi, which gets swapped out for the Supreme MP5, easily my most used gun in the entire game. The infamous AK, which gets swapped out for my all-time favorite, the M4. It never gets old mag dumping some bad guys with this thing, and it's just so fucking good and satisfying to use. The bolt action sniper rifle, only handy for a few missions, but still fun to use, which gets swapped out for the semi-auto. Frag grenades, and the good old-fashioned RPG, when you need to hit a chopper or blow some vehicles up in a pinch. On the whole sound note, every gun sounds incredible here. I'm not sure what they did or how they did it in the sound department, but every gun feels how it should. Accurate calibers and packing a punch. The major focus of GTA 4's combat comes from cover to cover, as you'll be taking cover and making use of either lock-on for controllers or non-lock-on for mouse and keyboard. I played the game with the controller because the game felt more designed for it. You can peek out of cover and shoot or blind fire enemies, which I always found to be fairly accurate, despite the amount of bloom that it has. As you move and or shoot your gun, the reticle will get bigger and bullets will become more inaccurate, so it's best to just tap fire with all the automatics, which I did. The AI isn't out of this world, but suffices enough for all the situations you get into, no BS deaths or anything like that. A lot of my situations would usually be to pre-ADS and just walk them down, because cover makes everything slow, and if you have good reflexes, you may find this aggressive playstyle to be more to your taste. On top of shooting bad guys, you can also find or buy body armor, providing you with extra protection. I always found it good to do a quick top up from a gun shop every time I needed it just to make life easier. Gun shops also offer weapons and armor, and weapons will gradually become available to you as you keep playing. You've also got driving combat, simple shooting and driving with the ability to swap between your pistol, SMG and grenades. And it's freeform, unlike before where you could only shoot from the side. GTA 4 uses a ragdoll physics engine called Euphoria, and thanks to this lovely YouTube video of breaking down what it does, it simulates ragdoll physics without any keyframes or motion capture, making use of the CPU and rigging the body skeletons with virtual muscles to create natural, real-life physics. A great example of Euphoria is whenever you shoot an enemy in the arm, which causes them to stumble and move their body out of cover, allowing for an easy kill, or shooting them in the leg and causing them to fall down. This allows for funny, goofy, and cool animations that always change, so you don't get the same 3 or 4 death animations like you would in most games. One of my favorite ones is whenever you shoot someone off a bridge or a railing of sorts, where their body flips over the railing and drops a long distance down before their inevitable death, which is always awesome to see. The way that Rockstar implemented it in GTA 4 is awesome and always creates different scenarios and moments. Something that hasn't been quite replicated in newer titles, since GTA 5 and RDR2's animations are more stiff and don't have as much jiggle when it comes to bodies falling, and it's a shame they haven't bothered to go back to this. I wouldn't be surprised if this engine alone was one of the main reasons the game had performance issues. As you get comfortable in Liberty City, you'll make some friends. Friends that you can hang out with and do jobs for. Roman, as mentioned before, can be called in the early portions of the game to do cab jobs for him in order to help the business. Little Jacob has drug dealing jobs where you drive a broken down car and take packages to various locations, but not all of them are a trek in the park, as you can either be tracked by the police or rival gangs try to steal your bread. Brucey Kibitz, the bullshark testosterone junkie, offers car races and emails about picking up exotic cars, which you take to his lockup and get paid. Lastly, we have Packy, who doesn't really offer anything in terms of jobs, but is a friend you can hang out with. Everyone I just mentioned can be called at any time to do something, such as playing pool, shooting some darts, going bowling, and having a nice drink and observing Euphoria's ragdoll physics. They can also call you randomly to do any of these activities at any time. Each friend has a like percentage that can be tracked in your stats page in the main menu, and reaching 75% will give you a special favor. Roman lets you use his cab service for free, allowing you to go anywhere in the city. This is probably my most used favor, as it saves a lot of time when going from mission to mission, especially when you have moments where you just don't want to drive at all. You also have this Indian guy who gets mad and frustrated for driving you and calls you a piece of shit, which I always found funny. Little Jacob opens up his own gun store in the back of his car trunk, selling weapons and gear for a cheaper price. I never found myself to use this until the very end because the game spoils you with so much money that it's never really needed, but still good to have when you want to see the bomba clot. Brucey takes you sky high with his own chopper, allowing you to pick one of many destinations. It's basically a flying taxi, and I never skipped it once because for a guy that's on steroids and bangs his head on the wall, he can fly pretty good. Lastly, Packy can give you a bomb, which you can then place under a car, drive it to a spot, then call detonate off of your phone to blow it up. Unless you're going for the chain reaction achievement, which is to blow 10 cars up in 10 seconds, I found no use for this. There's one more I forgot to mention as well, which is for Dwayne, if you kept him alive, but this is as simple as calling 2 guys to come help you with your criminal needs. Dating is a thing in GTA 4, but it's simple and I wouldn't go out of my way to call it complex or anything. This is a 2008 game after all. Nico can date and see multiple women, Michelle being his first, Kate being his second, which are mandatory for the story, following 3 others which you find on Love Me, the game's dating site. I only managed to find 2, which are Kiki and Carmen, but we'll just use Michelle as the example since they're all the same. Basically, you either call them or they call you to go out, you pick them up, take them to an activity that they'll enjoy, like the ones I mentioned before, or something goofy like the strip club or the cabaret show, take them back to the crib, and be given a choice to either try your luck or say goodbye. Succeeding in this will play a cutscene where it's just a girl screaming out her pleasure to you. I also love how the achievement for doing this is called warm coffee. If you know, you know. Driving is something that I've always loved in GTA 4, especially because of what Rockstar were going for. On top of the story and fictional New York City, they wanted cars to simulate real life and have proper acceleration, handling, top speed, and suspension. And every car has its own weight and feel to it. You can really feel the difference when driving with a controller. Take the Infernus for example, a sports car which has great acceleration and top speed but can't turn a corner to save its own life without handbraking. Or the Banshee, which is also a sports car that's an all-in-one package as it can pretty much do everything well. Great for racing. Roman's Taxi from the beginning of the game is a good example of a car that may seem lightweight from its size, but it actually sucks at doing turns without braking and handbraking. And a lot of times with big cars, unless you have an understanding of cars, you're going to be crashing and fumbling a lot of turns, and I can see why people don't like this compared to the fast, arcadey style driving we see in GTA 5. I like both of the driving styles, and with what Rockstar were going for, they nailed it right out of the gate. On top of the aforementioned boys content, there's other things you can do as well. Brucey's friend Stevie will eventually contact you by text message about the cars that he wants, but there's no GPS for this one, so you have to figure out the location from the screenshot. Once you find the car, take it and drive it to his garage in as mint condition as possible for more money. One of the characters that you meet will recommend you to a guy known as the Fixer, who has these assassination targets that you kill for money. Go to the phone, collect the job, grab any equipment he's left for you in the back, and kill said targets. There's the random encounters, which for me are pretty 50-50 as most of them are the same in terms of doing something for them, but with very little variety. But there are quite a few characters, like the drug dealer Brian Meach and Pathos, a rapper who has beef with rival thugs over his music.
Sure.
Lastly, you can do God's work by killing most wanted targets and vigilantes through the police computer. Nothing too crazy, but hey, content is content. I almost forgot about those bloody pigeons, which I cannot be bothered going out of my way to do, but there's 200 pigeons you gotta shoot throughout Liberty City. You do get an Annihilator chopper for taking them all out, so if you want a helicopter with miniguns, I guess it's worth going out of your way for that. While I do like a lot of the side content available, it can feel repetitive and boring at times, but changing it up by doing other activities or missions will rectify this. If we're judging GTA 4 in 2025, this game looks fucking terrible and hasn't aged well at all. But if we're judging GTA 4 in 2008, this game looks graphically stunning. GTA 4 was a huge graphical shift at the time for both gaming and Rockstar, being the first game to be developed in their proprietary engine, Rage or Rockstar Advanced Game Engine, which has evolved over time and has been their go-to for every game ever since. Characters have more polygons, motion capture was used for the lip syncing and animations, buildings can be entered, cars are more detailed, and more can be seen thanks to the view distance. Liberty City also looks incredible, sporting similar locations from GTA 3, while also adding a bunch of new places and creating the best possible version of New York City I think I've seen in a game. Driving around Algonquin in the city square is always a good time, and thanks to some mods I downloaded to help remove some of the horrible stuff the PC port had, like that whitewash effect, the game still holds its own. That one shot from the intro where they showed the city alongside the Statue of Happiness pretty much sold me back then and still sells me now. It still amazes me how they were able to make this game for the PS3 and the 360. GTA 4 came at a time where game developers were experimenting with the green filter, a filter that was used to adopt a muted, grim, gritty, or eerie mood, and Rockstar decided to join in on this. I think in terms of how they used the filter here, it was used to create a gritty and dark mood, given that the game isn't a cakewalk or a happy story. I do have one problem that's more of a nitpick than anything else, but I will go into detail about it, so don't get mad at me about this, okay? GTA 4 is too fast. What do I mean by this? As I was playing through it over the weekend and recording footage, I had a moment where I knew I was approaching the end, and looking back at all the events that you go through, I feel like everything in the game happens so fast to the point where some characters don't get fleshed out as much as they could, events happen so quickly that you don't get time to process it, and moments that feel like it's all gone in a flash. I finished the game in 21 hours, which is pretty reasonable, considering that I've played it in the past, and this also included going on dates and also doing side jobs whenever I wanted to change things up. It may just be me being spoiled as a result of later Rockstar titles, where GTA 5, despite having less missions, builds the characters out a lot more over time because of the length, and even Red Dead 2 on that note. Only RDR 2 is a lot slower, but that's because they want you to get to know the Vanderlyn gang, listen to conversations, and understand the struggles that they're going through. It's also worth noting that GTA 4 had a good amount of content that was cut from release, such as missions, guns, clothing, and areas, so that may have also contributed to the game feeling fast for me. But when you consider the time period, the technology, and developing for 3 different platforms, sometimes you have to cut corners in order to get the product out. I just wanted to get this out because I was feeling a bit conflicted about it, but also something that I wasn't thinking about by the time I finished the game. GTA 4's PC port is fucking abysmal. It runs like ass, crashes all the time, and stutters like a bitch, and even with the killer setup, it still can't even hit 60 FPS. But I managed to find a solution. Gillian's GTA 4 modding guide, which is a GitHub website that lets you download one of 2 mod packs. The first being for a Vanilla Faithful playthrough, which I downloaded, or the second being for a Vanilla Plus playthrough, complete with some game-changing mods. I'm gonna link a YouTube video on how to do this, but thanks to this mod pack, I was able to have a stable game with little to no issues outside of the typical bugs like the controller input not registering, textures not properly loading at times, and not being able to go into the main menu. If you want a simpler solution and don't want to download a mod pack, your best option is to download DirectX Vulkan or DXVK, a mod that will fix all of your stuttering and performance issues. I'll link this in the description for those who just want to use that mod and nothing else. It's a bit more detailed in terms of instructions and setting it up, but that's as vanilla as you can get. It took me 15 years to properly re-experience GTA 4 from start to finish. Man, I cannot grasp how incredible this game was and still is. Niko Bellic is the most realistic, grounded, and unique protagonist that Rockstar has ever made in Grand Theft Auto, and no one can compete with him for that status. An Eastern European immigrant who wanted a better life, but ended up coming back to something he thought he left behind. The story is awesome, the immersion is real, Liberty City has aged like fine wine, and its citizens are varied in terms of having hired killers, junkies, mobsters, and weirdos. It also brought new ideas that will carry over to later titles. I'm still pissed off at the fact that Rockstar did nothing when the game turned 10 years old, except compile the DLCs into a complete edition a few years after, terminate the online servers, and call it a day. Really goes to show how much money they're making off of GTA Online. But regardless, GTA 6 is slowly approaching, and there's so much time between now and the release. If you're feeling nostalgic or haven't played GTA 4 before, do yourself a favor and play this game. You won't regret it. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. If I missed anything, comment down below. I'm happy to talk about everything GTA or GTA 4, so let me know if you feel the same way I did playing, and or feel free to give your own personal thoughts. I guess it's time to move on to episodes on Liberty City.
Getting into illegal card games! Stop spending all our money!
Yes.
Thank you!